is a public hearing. The Board of Trustees United ISD. Today is Wednesday, January the 20th, 2016. Time is 4:30. We are present at the United ISD Student Activity Complex, Fine Arts Building. Present are Manuel Ramirez. I am Javier Montemayor. I'm opening the hearing. Agenda number 1. Anybody for public comments? No public comments. To Texas Education Code 39.053, presentation of the Texas Academic Performance Report describing the district's educational performance. Anybody can speak?
All right, what I'm going to do is open up the meeting also to the DEIC. Since this is not a regular meeting, it is a public hearing. We were advised that we would be meeting here. However, in essence of time, I would like that we defer the reading of the minutes until February. So could I have please a motion that we postpone? Mr. Perez, thank you very much. And do I have a second? All right, Estela, thank you very much. So therefore, I'll pass this over now to Emma Pesar.
Good evening, Mr. Montemayor, Mr. Ramirez, members of the audience. Tonight we bring forth the Texas Academic Public Report for United ISD. Based on Chapter 39, it is required that we publish the annual report, and it has to include the performance of the district, the campus performance objectives, the report on violent and criminal incidents, and information received under the Texas Education Code. And these published reports are being sent to all of the campuses. We must also hold this public hearing to discuss the information on the Tapar report. Have an overview for you here. This Tapar report provides information on the performance of students in each school and district in Texas. It also provides extensive information on school and district staff, programs, and student demographics. It is a comprehensive reporting system set by statute that replaces the Academic Excellence Indicator system. This report was first published in 2012-2013. It contains data used to determine the district and each campus's accountability rating. The report for this TAPR is through the state reporting system of the Public Education Information Management System that we know as PIMS. Additional information, we have determined that we have met the accreditation status, and it is based on the 2014 first rating of a superior achievement and also the 2014 accountability rating of MET standard. The financial profile section has been replaced with a direct HTML link to the financial actual report, and we have embedded the information into this presentation. Symbols for the data that appear on the TAPR report. The IPA key indicates that for the year 2015, STAR grade 3 through 8 math, STAR A, and STAR alternate 2 assessments were excluded. The arrowhead indicates that ELL rates at met or exceeded standard and exceeded standard include current and monitored students. Double asterisk refers to rates for reading and math, and they're based on the cumulative results for first and second administration. Question mark indicates that the data for this item were statistically improbable or were reported outside a reasonable range. One asterisk indicates the results are masked due to small numbers to protect student confidentiality. A dash indicates that 0 observations were reported for the group, and NA indicates data reporting is not applicable for this group. We continue with information that's new to this year. And again, stating that there was some data excluded for 3 through 8 math, STAR A and STAR Alt. That for the 2014 STAR data, only STAR data for 2015 is shown. We do not have a comparison since they could not compare the information. New also in our TAPR report front cover is the determination for special education, and that is based on the PBMAS report. Student Success Initiative is only for reading. There's new data on CTE coherent sequent graduates, college and career ready graduates, AP participation and examinees, advanced course and dual enrollment completion, and for the campus's report, they now have information on teachers' highest degree held. We begin with our report. We see here that for 2014-15, the accountability rating was met standard, and under special education determination status, we do have a needs improvement, and again, needs intervention, and again, this is based on performance-based monitoring assessment system, which is the PBMAS. Going directly into our performance index report, we see here that for all 4 indices, United ISD met and surpassed the state target. For Index 1, the target was 60, UISD came in at a 77. Index 2, the target was 20, UISD at a 39. Index 3, the target was 28, UISD came in at 48. And for Index 4, which is post-secondary readiness, target score was 57 and UISD came in at 85. Also from the Performance Index framework, we have information on our distinction designations. A total of 103 distinction designations were earned by 30 of the 40 UISD campuses in 2015. That is an increase from a 77% increase from 2014. So yes, our campuses deserve a round of applause. Before I begin with all of the performance in Tapar, I brought this information from page 14 so that we can set the stage as to the demographic profile for our district. In our district, we educated a total of 43,297 students. 98.7% of them are Hispanic, and it's indicated by a star there, and when you see the star that we have placed there, that simply indicates that we are either at or above the state, in this case very much above the state. When we look at the economically disadvantaged students that we educate, we have 76.7%, whereas the state educates 58.8%. Our English language learner population is at a 40%. At the state level, it is at an 18.2%. And when we look at our at-risk population, UISD educates 64.4%. At the state level, it is a 51.2%. So this sets the stage for the data that we are going to see under performance in our Tapar overview. Looking at our grades from 3 through 5, we see that at the district level for reading grade 3, we came in at a 76%, 1% shy from the state. Grade 4, reading came in at 72%, very comparable to the state and over the region. In writing, our district grade was 76% above the state and above the region. In 5th grade, reading at an 87% at the state, above the region, and science at a 72% at the state and above the region. So this was 3 through 5. Looking at our 6th through 8th data, our reading for 6th grade at 69%, our reading at 7th grade at 70%, writing at 68%, very comparable to the state, right close to the region. When we look at 8th grade, our 8th grade reading at 84%, just 4 points away from the state. Science at 71, which is at the state level and above the region. And social studies at 65, again at the state level and above the region. Moving over to our end of course for the 5 content areas. English 1, 73%, English 2, 72%, Algebra, 87%, Biology, 92%, all of which are above the state or at the state, and U.S. History at 91%. So in our district at the high school end of course level, we are either at or above the state in all of the assessments. Great applause to our high schools. Now we start looking at the indices, the post-secondary readiness. When we look at star percent at post-secondary readiness standard, we see that both in math and writing, we are above or at the state level, and we are very comparable in all of the other subjects. Reading at 41, science at 39, social studies at 36. This means that this percent of students are already meeting the 2022 standard of final recommended. When we look at the achievement at advanced, which is level 3, we note that in our math, and this is only based on our algebra assessment, we are at 21% of the students meeting that level 3, above the state and above the region. And in the areas of reading, math, writing, science, and social studies, we are very comparable to the state. And we also have to keep in mind the population that we educate. Going to progress met or exceeded progress, these are students that may not have met the standard, but we're measuring, are they progressing as they're coming to be educated in our schools? And as you can see, we are at or above the state in all of the content areas. So our students are meeting progress. They have value added in every area. When we look at the Student Success Initiative, this is for our 5th graders. Last year was based only on reading. By the second administration, we had 82% of our students meeting their standard. That means that they were able to pass to the 6th grade. The rest of the students we had to look at through a grade placement committee. Now, looking at 2014 data, all of the students that had to go through a grade placement committee were promoted. And when we look at how they did in 2015, remember that asterisk is based on masking for small numbers. Going to 8th grade, we look at the reading. Cumulative met standard is at 80% of our 8th graders. Again, in 2014, 100% of the ones that did not meet were placed in 9th. And then based on their 9th grade data, we had 17% of them meet standard, which is way above both the region and the state. Now looking at those groups where we looked at data at the very beginning on demographic, when we compare the economically disadvantaged subgroup for the state and for the region in all subject areas and each individual subject, we are either at or above the state in every single one. And remember, we're educating 76.7% when the state has 58.8%. So that's excellent for UISD. Another focus of ours is the English language learners subgroup, and when we look at that group in all subjects combined, we are at the state with a 55% passing rate, 2 percentage points away from the state in reading, above the state in math, 1 point away from the state in writing, above the state in science, and above the state in social studies. Next, we look at our special education subgroup, and we have to remember that this excludes Star A and Star Alt, but just in regular Star, we are above the state in all subjects in reading and in science and in math, 2 points away from the state in writing and 2 points away from the state in social studies. Now looking at our bilingual programs, which in our district are the early transition program, the dual program, and the ESL program. Again, comparing to the region and to the state, we have very comparable data in the early transition program, and I missed a star there. Oh, okay, we're below the region. But when we look at the dual, we are above the state and the region in math, writing, science, and social studies. And in the ESL pull-out program, we are above the state, at or above the state in math, science, and social studies. Again, remember the population is 40% for our district, with a 17%, I believe, for the state. Now looking at our graduation rates. For the class of 2014, we are at a 93.8% passing for the longitudinal rate, and for the class of 2013, we were at a 94.1%. We know that this is above the state, but also presented to us earlier was a report in the nation, and we can tell you that UISD's rates are higher than every state in the nation as well. Now, looking at our high schools, again, in the advanced course and the dual enrollment, when we look at the English language arts, we are above the state and the region we are at 27.3% above both the state and the region. Math, we are very comparable to the state and region at an 18.3%. Science, we're at a 4.3%. Social studies, comparable to state and region at an 18.2%. As we look at college and career readiness, and this is based on TAKS and SAT and ACT, we are comparable to the state at 61% with English language arts, a little bit below the state in math at 57%, and in both subjects comparable to the region and below the state at 43%. Now when we look at our college and career ready graduates, and this is based on TSI and CTE coherent sequence of courses, we are at a 98.5%, well above the region, well above the state. And in our CTE program, our students completing the coherent sequence and graduating, we are at a 98.3%, more than half in the state and well above the region. Very good. Looking at our advanced placement, we realize that this is an area that we are targeting. Our data for 2014 shows that in all subjects we are at a 16.6%. In English, math, science, and social studies, we are trailing the state, but this is participation, so we are promoting our programs more so that our students can take advantage of this. Now, after they participate, how are they doing with their results based on the criteria? We can say that in all subjects, we are above the state and the region. We are trailing in the English language arts, in math, science, and social studies. We're working on that, and that is one of our goals and something that we're working towards. And now the dual classes, and with the information coming from the state, from the past legislature, we're going to be able to open to more classes for our students. SAT and ACT results. For the class of 2014 tested, we are at 53.9% of our students tested, at or above the criteria. It is a 10.2%. Average SAT score is 100 points from the state. Average ACT score is 2 points from the state. So we are working towards that. We know that we have to provide our students more information on this, and that's part of our goal. When we look at our graduates, those that have already left us, we look at how many of them have enrolled in an institution of higher education. And this is about data for 2 years back, class of 2013. We see that 72.9% of our graduates enrolled in an institution of higher education. That's really very good, because we have to consider that we're educating our future community here, well above the region, well above the state. And as we look at how they do without remediation in that first year, we have increased from the previous year, and we're comparable to the state and above the region at a 66.5%. Continuing with our attendance and annual dropout rates, our attendance is very comparable to the state and to the region. Our dropout rates, however, are below the state in both the grades 7 through 8 and the grades 9 through 12. So we credit our counselors and our high school administration for keeping our students enrolled and attending school. Now we go to the report of violent and criminal offenses, and also the safe and drug-free schools, which is important to keep our kids safe and focused on learning.
Good afternoon, and congratulations to all staff, parents, and of course students for these wonderful accomplishments that Ms. Lessa just reviewed. I'm here to share with you the 2014-2015 Violent and Criminal Offenses Report. In 2013-2014, we had a total number of incidents of 72. In 2014 and 2015, the total number of incidents is 77. Under the state guidelines, our PEMS codes, there are a total of 9 different codes that we use to determine if an offense is considered a violent offense. and these are the 9. As you can see, it's assaults and aggravated assaults. Those are the 2 categories whereby we had our offenses. And at this time, I'd like to go ahead and have Dr. Carrillo talk about how we are promoting a safe and nurturing school environments in our school district. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Through our comprehensive district-wide safe and nurturing environment goal, which is Goal 2, United ISD has been able to maintain a strong, safe and drug-free schools and communities program, and we have demonstrated success in achieving our goals and objectives and managed to keep school violence, alcohol, drug and tobacco use at a limited or moderate use level. UISD conveys a clear and consistent message that acts of violence and illegal use of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco are wrong and harmful. UISD has adopted policies and procedures for handling student use of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, and violence. These policies and procedures have been shared with parents, teachers, and students. Students and parents also receive a student code of conduct, bus rider handbook, and technology use handbook that detail all applicable laws, rules, and consequences. All district employees are issued an employee handbook, which includes a copy of the standards of conduct, code of ethics and standard practices for Texas educators, along with the safe and drug-free schools, drug abuse prevention requirements, and searches and alcohol and drug testing policies. Additionally, we have strong coordination and collaboration with community members, agencies, law enforcement officers, and other organizations, and are in full compliance with the requirements of District Goal 2 and the Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Communities Act. Thank you.
Continuing with our student information from our district profile, here we have listed the grade levels that we service and the count of students that we have in each grade level. The data here, when you compare the percentages, very comparable to the state. Continuing with the information of the graduates from the class of 2014, 97.9% of them were Hispanic, and of that class of 2014, not only did we have the highest graduating rate, higher than the nation, higher than the region, higher than the state, but also 91.7% of them graduated with a recommended or DAP diploma. So I think that's very, very good for our students. Here we look at the retention rates by grade, and when we compare the district to the state rate, we do see in the areas of kinder and first grade, in the area of first grade that is our highest retention rate, and we have put procedures in place to ensure that we are working with the students. Now, based on our data, when we look at the data that we have submitted, 0% or only 18 pieces of data had any errors. So when we look at 43,000 students, over 3,000 teachers, all of the information submitted, our data is very accurate, and again, we are better in that percentage than the state. Continuing with our information for our students, our class size averages are very comparable to the state in grades kinder through 6th. At the secondary level, we are a little bit higher than the state, but then again, you know, we see our results, so we know that we work well with our students. And now we go into the staff information.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Mr. Santos, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Garcia. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources for United ISD, and I'll give a brief overview regarding our staff information. Our total staff in the district, based on this particular report, is 4,756.8, or 100% of our employee workforce. Professional staff, 3,265.9. Total number of teachers that, quite honestly, support all the data and successes that we experience as a school district are staffed by 2,562.9 teachers, professional, campus, central office personnel, teacher assistants, auxiliary staff, and of course, these are the individuals that make it happen. With the support of our Board of Trustees, the direction of our Superintendent, David Gonzalez, and his instructional staff, this is where the rubber meets the road and we experience the successes that we currently have at this time. Our next gives a little bit further breakdown regarding the ethnicity regarding our instructional staff, where 28.1 of our teaching staff is Hispanic, 95.9% are white. The Hispanic population is 97.7% of our instructional staff compared to the state's 25.6%. And you can see the comparison between both. The majority of our instructional staff, 1,981, are females, with 581 being male. And this is simply what it does. This is a career path made by individuals, and the school district, through the board, superintendent, and other administrators, simply hire the best to fill in all vacancies in the district regardless of gender. And of course, we recognize the career path of individuals regardless of gender as well. With regards to degrees, you will see that graphic there where 2,038 are degreed, master's degree 495, and doctorate degree 7.9. Those that do not have a degree are those that come on board as professionals, but they come through a specific licensing process that we in Human Resources call SOQ, that we use wage earning experience in order for these individuals to bring their wealth of experience to impact our kids in their respective assignments. With regards to experience, and if you notice, we have 755.5 educators that have 6 to 10 years of experience, 10 to 20 years of experience, 891 compared to the state's 26.6 and 22.6 and 26.9 respectively. And what it does, it simply supports that we're able to employ and retain high quality personnel to have the maximum impact in all instructional settings. The next graphic, if you look at the breakdown of years of experience, beginning teachers all the way down to when we look at years of experience of teachers, 12.1 years of experience compared to the state's 11. And when we look at years of teachers with the district, 10.2 compared to the state's average of 7.5. This simply means that our turnover rate, we're able to retain the high quality staff to have that impact in the instructional setting. If we look at salaries, salaries are commensurate to the job market in the area, and with regards to pay, we are very competitive and a little bit higher than the state averages that are reflected in this particular graphic. You look at central office pay is slightly lower than the state's average, campus administration is slightly higher, professional support slightly higher than the state, but it is the district's effort to compensate individuals in their respective assignments and recognize their efforts and experiences in order to impact our children, which is the future of this community, the state, the country. When we look at turnover rate, no comparison. The district's effort regarding pay, benefits, working environment, and so forth, our average of turnover is 7.6 compared to the state of 16.6. We are twice or less than half of the state turnover. That simply means that we're able to keep our high quality people and be able to have that impact in all instructional settings. As much as it sounds redundant, what it does, it is a clear-cut reflection of all the administrative efforts that trickle down to the campuses, classroom teachers, and in the classrooms to experience the successes that we have been so graciously presented by Ms. Less and other staff. With regards to exclusions, there are none. In our next description, in our next graphic, on page 42, you look at the breakdown of counts of bilingual education students, career technology, DT, special ed, where the district's efforts to identify children and to teach them using the native language, recognizing their shortcomings based on those things that in some cases students have no control, and for us to take those steps to recognize those that are talented, those that have limitations, and we're able to work within those particular fields of limitations or successes for kids to excel and to move on. When it comes to teachers, it also gives you the breakdown of bilingual teachers, 931, 36.4% compared to the state's 5.9. And we go down that particular graphic of GT, compensatory ed, GT, regular instruction, and special ed, and you have the numerical breakdowns and the percentages, and compared to the states where we staff as best as we can within the limitations having to do with fund availability, and yet, even though we do utilize every dollar as best as we can and retain all staff, the successes that we experience at this time is one that is, I feel, second to none. Thank you.
Okay, and we move now to the financial information.
Good afternoon. My name is Lyda Benavides. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance. I know you see here a lot of data. I'll try to kind of point out some key things for our district. On the left-hand side, of course, is our district information, and then you can compare it to the state. From our local tax revenue, you'll see there and it probably makes more sense when you think about it on a per-student basis. We do collect about $3,595 per student, which is less than the state, which collects about $4,584 in taxes. So that is telling us that our tax rate is probably lower than most school districts in the state of Texas. The state revenue, we get $4,492 per student. The state average is $4,305. And that has to do a lot with, there's many other districts that are wealthier in values than we are, and so they probably get less from state than we do. On total, the fund balance at the end of the year in general fund, this is a very key fund for us. We had $87.2 million, but if you go toward the very last column, the very last row of that column, this unassigned fund balance of $82.7 million is the district's so-called, unassigned means that it's not committed to anything. So it's funds that we can use possibly to do some major repairs, buy some major equipment, just anything that's not committed to any future purchases. And all funds, the reason that dollar amount goes so much higher from 87 to 186 million, that in there includes our restricted fund balance, which is over 100 million, and that is our bond funds that we've started to issue to build our schools. So you'll eventually see that amount go down as we're building our new schools. The next slide, the next slide has to do with expenditures, and here you'll see also probably on a per student basis it makes more sense. But when you gather all our funds of $428.6 million, we spend about $9,872 per student. At the state average, it's $10,971. So you could do the math, and we're spending about $1,100 less per student than the state average. And then you'll see the breakdown there of how we're expending in payroll. 71% of that 428 million. Other operating expenses, 63.9, and debt service, that's our debt payment to pay back the bonds that we've issued, is 29.7 million. And then the capital outlay, which has to do with equipment, vehicles, and building, is making up that amount of 29.78 million. Then it breaks it down by function, which in our world, in our accounting world, we can tell you exactly where these expenditures are being expended at. Instruction, of course, is our bigger line item. In fact, we have over $204 million expended in instructional related expenditures. If you cross over to the state, we're spending about $4,702 per student. The state is spending $4,956. And if you keep on going line per line, probably another big line item is our debt service, it's our operating expenses, which we like to say the student services, like our guidance and counseling, social work services, health services. If you look at every one of those line items, it's everything that supports the students. It's not a classroom teacher. Your nurses, your counselors, your diagnosticians, your speech therapists, everybody that's involved in those types of functions are in those expenditures. And then you can compare it to the state. And you can see that we're in line with what the state is doing or the state's districts are doing in their districts. In total, our disbursements, again, 10,200 per student with all our funds taken into consideration. Total disbursements at the state, it's 11,998. What this is telling us is that through all kinds of efficiencies, we actually spend less per student than the state average is. So I think that should be commended to everybody in here. Whenever we have to tighten our belts, we do, but we always, keep in mind of the things that we do need to do. And so I'd like to commend again everybody that's here in the audience, because a lot of school personnel. On the next slide, just operating expenditures, a different way to look at our expenses. What we spend in our regular education, we spend $3,747 per student. The state spends $3,872. This is telling me again that we're in line with what the rest of the states are, the rest of the school districts in the state are spending on regular education. On gifted and talented, we spend $747,000 or $17 per student. At the state level, they are spending $77 per student. We have now GT in all our elementaries. We used to have more of a magnet approach, and so those expenditures kind of have been spread out over more teachers, so to speak. So we don't really have identified staff that's truly GT 100%. Career and technology, we do invest a lot in our college readiness and work readiness program. We spend $266 per student. The state average is $231. We have many programs coming out of our high schools where our students actually graduate with certifications, ready to work or ready to get advanced degrees. Students with disabilities, that's our special ed program. We spend $941 per student. The state average is $987. Accelerated education is pretty much what we normally know as the state comp, and we spend $243 per student, and the state average is $339. Bilingual, we spend $144 per student. The state average is $171. And as you go down the next line, the alternative ed, which is our STEP Academy, we spend $47 per student, and at the state average is $39. School-wide state comp, this is the money associated with those schools that have a certain amount of low economic students. We spend over $546 per student. The state average is $354. Athletics and related activities, we spend $131 per student. The state average is $168. High school allotment, we spend $108 per student. The state average is $74. And then pre-kindergarten, we spend about $57 per student, and the state average is $152. And then there is a comparison of our instructional expenditure ratio to the state. Yes, we are below, but you can probably see it more in our student services area. We do have a very expanded transportation program. I don't think there's any district that covers the miles that we do in our transportation program. And so those expenditures will affect that type of ratio and other services as well that we have to provide in a district of our size. And then again, on the tax rate end, you'll see there that our tax rate is $1.04 for maintenance and operation. The state average is $1.07. Interest and sinking, we're at a little bit more than 15 cents. The state average is 18 cents. Our total tax rate is $1.19. State average is $1.25. And there you'll see the comparison of our values to the state. Of course, the only thing that I could tell you to compare there is the percentage of our role, the type of role, business, residential, and land, oil and gas, compared to the state. I guess what can be looked at there is that we do have a lot of mineral and values in our area, which is expected because of the Eagle Ford Shale. And then just the other particular numbers there, the unassigned fund balance of $82.7 million, which I told you was the amount that's not committed. The general fund total budgeted expenditures is $319 million. And then our percent of our expenditures to our fund balance is 25.9%, and you'll see that it's in line with the state at 26%. So, you know, and looking at those comparisons, then we know that our business is comparable to other businesses, school district business offices in the state of Texas.
This concludes the presentation of the information in our Tapar report. At this point, I don't know if there's any questions that we can answer for you. For further information, our Tapar is available at the sites listed here. Also, the financial report website is listed, as well as the Texas Higher Education data. And prior to completing the presentation, Mr. Gonzalez has a few words.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Santos, and everybody here in the audience. Our Curriculum Instruction Department would like to take this opportunity to thank our teachers and our students for the instruction and for the learning that takes place daily at our classrooms, our campus administrative staff for the instructional leadership and guidance, our parents who are involved in the educational lives of our children, our instructional staff, many of you are present, and the compliance coordinators, and the staff of instructional support that is evident at each campus. Our district's department, all departments here present, that support our instruction for our students, and finally, Mr. Santos, our superintendent, and our board of trustees for the undivided support to quality instruction here at United, where we are united. Thank you very much.
I would also like to address, staff, and again, I want to thank our teachers, our campus administrators, the campus support staff, district-wide administrators. I think we as a group, a support area, are able to provide the quality, I think, of education that we need for our students. And I think it goes back to the teachers. I think when you look at the number of teachers that we have and how long we've been able to retain teachers, I think that's been the key. And the reason that's the key, I think the support that we've gotten from the board to be able to provide, I think, a good competitive salary and benefits for our employees, for all our employees. So again, want to congratulate our students and again the parents for the support that they give us. But really at the end, it's our board of trustees that really support us and being able to give us the tools to be able to be successful. I remember a couple of years ago, we were never ever close on scores with either the region or the state. And I think now, I think we're there, but I think we can get better. I think together, as Mr. Gonzalez said, I think we are united and we stay together, follow the course, we're going to be even better than what we are now. Thank you all.
All right, at this time, I would like to adjourn this meeting. I realized also that when I asked that we postpone the minutes, I did not take a vote, so I'm hoping that we were all in agreement. This time we'll do it properly. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? All right, thank you, Sally. All right, a second. All right, great, thank you. All right, now let's take a vote. All in agreement, raise your hand. Anyone disagreeing? All right, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.